You should always have fun on your journey. You should always have fun on your come up. And you have to realize that you should reward yourself if you know you deserve it, right? I know on my come up, starting my freshman year at college, there would be a point in time where it's like I'm working so much and I see my improvements day by day compounding, building the person that I am today, building me into the person that I am today. And I wasn't really rewarding myself for it. And with me just falling in love so much with the process, I knew I was dedicated to this shit to the day I die. And once I understood that and made that binary commitment to myself, with myself, for myself, I started rewarding myself with things. And I started buying shit. I bought some of the designer clothes. I bought some of the designer shoes. I went to go get the better food options. I went to go to the better restaurants. I went to go pay for that gym membership. I went to go play golf at country clubs or whatever the case may have been. And for me, it was really about not only meeting people in those environments, but how I deem success is to me, right? When I look at success, it's not so much about the fancy dinners, the fancy cars, the fancy clothes, the beautiful women or whatnot. It's more so who I became in order to have those things. Falling in love with the process so much and being content and grateful with who you've become and how you've changed over time and how you've been able to cultivate this person internally, because it all starts from within. And if you don't understand that, then you will continue to live a life of misery, and you will live a life that somebody has dealt to you. You'll live a life that someone else has given you. And I see a lot of this in my everyday life, whether it's I'm out in public or I see it within my own family or whatnot. And it gets to a point where it's like people look up in their 30, 40, 50, 60, and they're still realizing, like, why am I still doing this even though I'm unhappy? And for those of you that are listening, I don't want you guys to have to deal with that shit. That's what I'm saying. You need to get the fuck up and do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Because it'll get to a point in time where it's like you've been accustomed to the same routine over and over and over again. And it gets to a point where it's hard to break that cycle. And with you doing it so many times, it's like you're on autopilot. And it's gonna be challenging to make that switch of having that disruptor for you to go out and do something else. That's why it's hard for people to take risks. That's why it's hard for people to do new things and venture off and do certain things, because they're so accustomed to doing the same thing over and over again. It's just what their mind and body and nervous system is literally regulated to. That's why you see people not trying new things or going out doing adventures or whatnot, because they're so stuck in the constant cycle of redundancy. And honestly, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, for some people that may be fine, but for other people it may not necessarily be fine, but they have the power to be able to change their life. It's not up. You can't let somebody else dictate your life. You will always be miserable. You're never going to get paid enough at that job. People aren't going to respect you unless you respect yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, why would somebody else invest in you? So it's like you have to constantly be evolving to the point where people see the work that you put in, people see the results, people see like, damn, like this guy really has something to say. Prime example. When I go to the gym, I had a couple conversations with the people that I've ran across, just me going at the same time to the gym as they do. And we get to chatting or whatnot. And the guy asked me kind of like what I do, and I told him what I did, and he was like, wow, like you really are able to decipher and depict like what it is you exactly do, like how are you able to do X, Y, and Z? And then he asked me how old I was, and I told him I was 22. And he was like, wow, like I know you're going to go places, like there's people in this world that don't even talk like you, articulate themselves like you, and it gets to a point where it's like, yeah, I know I'm on the right track and I appreciate the validation, but they didn't see all the long hours of me watching YouTube videos on how to talk, how to pronunciate my words and put a lot more emphasis on my word, expanding my vocabulary, and just reading a lot, listening to podcasts a lot, doing all that shit. Like all that shit is a compounding effect. Your inputs dictate your outputs. If you input bullshit, you're gonna output bullshit. Prime example, you eat shit food, you're gonna project shit. Like, you're gonna feel like shit, you're gonna be lazy, you're gonna be lethargic. But if you input high quality foods in yourself, you get good sleep, your output's gonna be a lot higher because you have the energy, you have the focus, you have the fortitude to continuously keep going. And that's what it's all about. You generally have to realize what it is that you want from your life and your life only. Yeah, it might be a guy with a better car than you. Yeah, he might have a better bitch than you. Yeah, you might have this man, he might have that. But at the same time, you can have the same things too. You just have to change your mindset. You just have to change your mindset and eliminate everything else that's not incongruent. If, let's say, you know you want to be in better shape, eliminate, get rid of all the bullshit in your house, cookies, junk food, all that shit. Get rid of it. If your friends eat bullshit, stay at arm's length away from them. Don't go to the same restaurants that they eat at, because this shit is a compounding effect. It's all about character. You can be someone that is thinking about, oh, I've always wanted to go to the gym, but if you have shit thoughts, habits, and beliefs, and you have shit character, you're never going to change because that's all you're accustomed to. But the moment you take a leap into becoming somebody new, like, no, like, the healthiest version of me would not eat this. The healthiest version of me would get up at 8 a.m. and go to the gym. They would go work out. They would do Pilates. They would do yoga. They would do X, Y, and Z to stay physically fit. Once you do that, then it becomes, with you being in a repetitive cycle, it becomes automatic. I've gotten to the point where if I don't go to the gym, it feels weird and I just don't feel right. That's how you guys have to be with everything in your life. Because the moment you start inputting these great habits, it's going to be hard for you to fall off. And those good habits are what got you to where you are today. So just understand that and keep that in the back of your head. Like, there will always be a new mountain to climb. There will always be more to get. But at the same time, always be grateful for what you have and enjoy the moment. Because there's going to be a point in time where it's like that moment is going to be totally different in a year's time, 5 years' time, a decade's time. Maybe you might have kids. Maybe you might get a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or maybe you're in a long-term relationship, or either you make more money, or maybe you travel even more than you ever imagined, or whatever the case may be. You have to realize that it all starts within the mind, and it's actually generally easier than you think. If there's someone out there that has exactly what it is that you have, whether it's a life or something or some things or some bodies, like, you can have it too. What makes them any different from you? The only difference is that they have the thoughts, habits, and beliefs that were able to get them to where they are today, and they didn't let fear stop them. Yes, it's going to be challenging to overcome who you are today to become a better person tomorrow. It is. Don't get me wrong. That shit is hard. When I started out, bro, like, I wasn't the most disciplined person, but I got the fuck up and did what I needed to do. I did my push-ups in the morning. I read before I went to class. And yes, it got boring and redundant, but it made me so better, and I felt so good about myself that all those little moments of me feeling great trickled all to the other things in my life. It was able to bring me opportunities because I knew how to talk and be able to communicate with people and so on and so forth. Like, I remember when I was 18 coming out of high school, like, I didn't really talk to people like that. I didn't know how to communicate, but I was like, I know I want to do this real estate shit, and it's either if I do this shit, like, I'm gonna have to talk to people, otherwise I'm gonna be broke, and being broke wasn't even an option. So literally what I would do is just start small talk with the people in the elevator, like, hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? What'd you end up doing? Whoop-de-whoop-de-woo. And then that shit was just a compounding effect, and then it was just brick by brick by brick by brick by brick, and it's been able to land me to where I am today. I'm working at a huge accounting firm. I mean, I don't do accounting, but I work at a big company, and I have a profound network of people that I can reach out to at any given moment that I know will respond and help me out, because I was able to plant the seeds and nourish those relationships and build rapport with those colleagues of mine to be able to know, like, hey, I know I can reference this guy in the future, or I know that he'll be able to help me out down the line, or even it might get to a point in time where I'll be able to help him out. And it's like, real estate's nothing but a people game, and if you don't realize that, then you're gonna be lost. Whether you're a realtor, broker, a developer, an investor, all this shit starts with the communicating. Yeah, you have to build your resume. Yeah, you got to put yourself out there. Yeah, you got to build a name for yourself. But when you're first starting out, those little glimpses of potential that other people see in you is what'll get you a lot further than you just being a prick, you just staying to yourself, being reserved. Like, people don't like that shit. And with us living in a digital age, it's like having human interaction is it can be sometimes not only a challenge, but it can feel weird because everyone is living through their phone, everyone's living through a screen, and there's not a lot of in-person communication and in-person conversation. So it gets to a point where it's like people are more closed off, they're not as social, and they wonder why their life's a fucking misery. That's it for today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.